Hey, it's InkdMage back at it with another WizKids Minis review. This time we're looking at the Icons of the Realms Return of the Dragons, which has a lot of minis that are reimagining of older minis from their Tyranny of Dragons set. I think you're going to really enjoy looking at these. These are fantastic, but let's go in for a closer look. Here are the minis from the Return of Dragons that I got in the brick that WizKids sent me, and we're going to go in and take a closer look. And I think what I'm going to do is start with the ones that I don't have the older counterparts for. For example, this silver dragon. So here's a young silver dragon, and I can tell you something. One of the things that WizKids has corrected over the years was how these minis are mounted, the flying minis. There used to be these skinny poles that you would have to slot in to the actual figure and into the base. And there were a lot of broken minis, flight stands, I can tell you that. But they've really taken care of that, and this is a fantastic mini. And he's securely on the base. Here we have the young copper dragon. I really like the copper dragon design with the tail that kind of fans out from the wings. But this is really a nice mini. Let's zoom in here. You can see nice detail with the teeth and the eyes. Looks like he's singing at a rock concert. It's always good to have dragons in your collection. Admittedly, I'm a fan more of the chromatic dragons just because I tend to run good campaigns and my players don't actually, they may encounter good dragons, but they don't fight them. Unless, of course, you're in Eberron, where good dragons can be evil. But that's a really good mini. I love the eyes. Speaking of good dragons, here we have a young bronze dragon. And this is, you know when this would be good for? If you're running a Dragonlance campaign, you may need dragon allies and mounts. In which case, these would make excellent ones. I love the sculpt. They really do a good job making the metallic dragons noble looking. Wouldn't you agree? Here we have a Pegasus. A handsome Pegasus at that. Look at that flowing hair. This is a really good mini. Whether you're having your players encounter the Pegasus as an elvish steed, a creature in the wild, or maybe you're playing a Greek mythology themed campaign, this would be a good one to add to your collection. Who doesn't like having extra siege equipment? You could put this on a ship or in a castle or really anywhere, but this ballista is really nice. I like having this one a lot. This is one you almost want to have a number of them, so you may have to track them down. Here you have a human female barbarian. Love the axe and the stance. It's a bold, brave stance. She's not asking for any quarter. Again, I have to mention it at least once during these videos that I love the clear base. Look how you can see through to the terrain below. But this could be used as a PC, most likely, or an NPC. The good news is you would get a lot of use out of this mini, repeated use. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never used a Quickling in my game. I only have a couple Quickling minis, maybe that's why. It's a small mini, just so you can see by comparison. It's about halfling height, and I think the creature's supposed to be even smaller. But these are really mischievous creatures, so if you are running an adventure in the Feywild particularly, I believe you're going to want to have some Quicklings there. I wish I had had this mini when I ran the Tyranny of Dragons campaign. I didn't finish the campaign, but I certainly got to the point where the player characters faced the half-red dragon. And this really would have helped bring that to life. I think I used an old red dragon spawn mini, and it worked, but it wasn't as cool as this is. You can see this. So if you're revisiting that campaign or maybe running it for the first time, you're going to want this series for a certainty. So you can get minis like this that are actually from the campaign. And there's also a black half dragon that I didn't get, but comes in this Return of the Dragons series that you'll want for the campaign. You can never get enough needle blights and twig blights and vine blights. I love forest encounters, and I love plant creatures to throw at my players because they always are a challenge for the characters to spot, and just good fun. Lots of detail on this, all the barbs. Love the reaching, grasping hand. Really nice mini to have. Having more goblins is always good. Goblins are a horde monster, so it's nice to be able to have hordes of goblin minis so that you can drop down a bunch of these critters for your players to battle. It's especially fun when you throw a bunch of these horde monsters, low-level horde monsters, against your higher-level PCs. Gives them a good opportunity to shine. And I mean the PCs blowing through, vast quantities of these low-level monsters. And this one's really good. He looks like a gladiator goblin. And the same rationale behind having a lot of goblin minis is also good for these low-level demons, these mains. Man, this guy looks disgusting. And having a bunch of these as servants to a greater demon lord, to trouble the players, whether at low level or hordes of them at higher levels, is a good idea. So it's nice to get in with this set. There's lots of good monsters to either add to your horde, or if you're a new collector, to start your own collection. The doppelganger. Doppelgangers are really a great monster to use, even though you don't often see them in their true state. It's still fun when the reveal happens to throw down a good mini like this. I'm a huge fan of things like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, so I like using shape changers that fool the players or use them to commit crimes posing as the players. If you are a cruel DM like me, you enjoy causing that kind of chaos. Arguably, the best mind flayer that I have. I mean, the dynamic pose, look at that. Tentacles flared. I love the crystal staff and just the dramatic pose. This is not a mind flayer that is passive. He is actively trying to suck the brains from the heroes. Look at that. I love this mini. I love the detail and just really love the life in the position. Here you've got a stone giant. Just a towering figure. Nice detail on the face and the skull. Man, he's got some comfy looking shoes. They remind me of my slippers. I don't have the one to compare, but look at the nice detail. I mean, really extraordinary detail in the body. Look at the muscles flexing. Just a really good mini for stone giants. Let's compare him, say, to the paladin, just so you can get an idea on how much bigger that giant is. I mean, that's massive. Now let's begin with the comparisons. So here is the new Shadow Black Dragon. Now, you'll notice that it still has the older design for the Black Dragon in terms of the skull, and the horns, which, by the way, if I'm being honest, I prefer this than what they've done with the latest iteration. Now, earlier I was talking about the mounting system. You can see that this acrylic is a pole that you have to mount to the dragon and to the base, and I don't like that. That being said, that's an amazing dragon mini. It's terrific. It really is. I do think I like this one better, though. I love the clear base. I love the sculpt. And, you know, the greenish, shadowy nature looks better. Now, I think you could use these in conjunction. You could use this for when the creature is down on the ground, and then when you need it in flight. So I think these work well together, and I love them both. So why not use them together? So these are two very, very different sculpts for the Oni. You know, the older one, and you can tell by the base, because it's black and not clear, is more of a skulker, you know, an assassin lurking in the shadows. But this one, he's not afraid of battle. I mean, and seriously jacked. I mean, that's some low percentage of body fat right there. This Oni counts his macros and eats a largely protein-based diet. I love the fierce face. Again, I think, like the Black Shadow Dragon, you could use these together. This new one, when the Oni is in the middle of battle, and then this could be before battle when it's talking or sneaking. I think they're both great. I love the updated look. because you could also use them as two independent Onis working together even. So it adds to your collection and variety. And as you know, I love variety. Here's the Hobgoblin. And what can I say? You can see that the new sculpt has a better paint job. They've really come a long way with their paint job and the detail. They're both good minis. These are good horde monsters, so it's always good to have additional ones and adds to the variety. But I think for this one, I'm going to have to definitely go with the new build. I like this pose from the Tyranny of Dragons Hobgoblin, but he's a little more like he's a commander, giving orders to his subordinates, where this one could be both. He's could be a commander, but he's also jumping into the fray, leading by example. And here we have Orc Warriors. I prefer this bluish gray skinned orc because that's how most of the orcs I have are. And I really like the pose and the barbaric furs. This orc is great, but he looks a little more civilized. He's dressed in neat clothes. I mean, this could be a really good mini to use as a half-orc fighter or barbarian. But again, you can use this exactly as what he is, an orc. He's a bit of a smaller orc, but he's heavily muscled, and clearly the sculpt and the paint job is better than the older school orc. So when I'm always saying that WizKids is stepping up their game, I mean, here you can see the direct comparison of an older mini, and it's true. It has a better sculpt and paint job and look. So Origs are half orc and half ogre. Now, the one on the right is the older mini, and that is a really that's a really large mini. Look at it. Now, what's cool about these are you could use them together, mingled in. Because this newer one is smaller, I mean, you could use him as an orc, or you could use him exactly what he is, an org. And you can see, look at the detail, man, that face and those big, huge fangs. I mean, and that's a tremendous mini. I like both of them. I wouldn't say I have a clear favorite out of the two, but to be honest, I think I would use the newer one more often because he'd get mingled in with my regular orcs. So the Zhentarim in Forgotten Realms are notorious bad guys, and we have Zhentarim bandits here. You have the older version and the new, and again, I think the new one is a clear winner in terms of sculpt and paint job. And man, I'll keep saying it. The clear base is overwhelmingly better than the black bases because I like to see through to the terrain or map that's laid down. But these are great minis to use together because where one bandit is, there are others. So having variety in your bandits, is really good when you throw a bunch of adversaries against your players. You can always be like, oh, okay, I'm attacking the bandit with his sword held aloft. So these can be used as warriors or bandits outside of Forgotten Realms, but if you're playing in Forgotten Realms, why not use them as Zhentarim? Exactly what they're intended for. This may be the mini that I actually prefer the older one to. I like the coloring and I like the pose better. I mean, obviously the base is black and not clear, But I mean, I also, when I say I like it better, it's not by much. I mean, they both look fantastic. Kobolds are my favorite horde monster to use, especially at lower level, because they have such low hit points. It makes battling them, you know, dangerous proposition in numbers against your low level players, but they still have a chance at defeating a large number of kobolds. But be careful, you can do a TPK, especially if the players are only first level. Here you have Svervneblin, which are a deep gnome dwelling down in the Underdark. There's this new trend to lighten the paint job, and this, you know, or I should say skin tone, and that's not a thing WizKids does. I mean, that's a thing that Wizards of the Coast has been doing, making Drow more light gray or purplish even, and same with Duergar. And I prefer the old school where they had inky black skin, you know, whether it's Drow or Duergar or Svervneblin. So I like the coloring here, but this pose and the clear base, you know, these two are very comparable. You know, if I were to play a Svervneblin in a campaign, I think I would just paint this guy to match the old school one and use them both in a relaxed pose and in a pose for battle. I like adding more of these, especially right now, to my collection, because in the near future I'm gonna run a mini Underdark campaign. Now, while I like this old mini, it's a halfling bard, I would never have thought it was a bard. So I think the new one is a massive upgrade. I mean, look at, she's playing the fiddle. Same clothing though, maybe a little taller and wearing a different color for her hair. So I really like this one because this could also be used as a thief. More likely to be used as a thief though. You want to play a female halfling bard, this new one is the way to go. It's also a nice mini to use as an NPC in a tavern. There's a number of minis WizKids has made using where the minis are playing instruments. And they're always good to throw up on a stage at a tavern. I'd say these gnome wizards are really comparable, except for the paint job on the new one and the clear base. The clothing looks so much nicer on the new one, but they're both very close in, you know, all other regards. So I think it's a great mini to have. I'm a huge fan of halflings. I don't know if you knew that, but I love halflings. So having halfling wizard minis to throw into the mix is a really nice addition to the collection. Okay, the new mini is called a Dragon Claw. The older one is a Cult of the Dragon cultist. But they're really the same. They each brandish a dagger, the same type of cloak, same hairstyle. So again, I think these both are useful minis, especially side by side. Maybe you're playing an assassin and this would be a really good mini for it. But you could use one for, you know, just standing composed and the other for during combat. And if you're using them as NPCs or opponents for your players, then it's good to have the variety in positioning for these minis. I love green hags. I mean, not romantically, mind you. But, you know, there are a few green hag minis that have come out. And since Tyranny of Dragons, each time they get better. In this new one, is so good. Let's have a close look here. Let me try and focus. Look at that face. Wielding a nasty green flame. That is just tremendous. I mean, look at that. Look at that face. And I love the pose. It's heads and shoulders above this old one. Even though the other one stands head and shoulders above in height, I still think the new one is way better, significantly better. Here we have the human paladin and the updated reimagining. Okay, they went with darker hair, and that's okay. Still a left-handed swordsman with no shield. But I mean, clearly the sculpt and the paint job is much, much better. I mean, zoom in there and see. This new one is really great. This one is a clear standout to be better than the other one. And that's saying something, because I do love this mini. I think this is a terrific paladin figure. Here we have the old and new Sun Elf Guard. Now, I like the old guard's stance, because you could place him outside of doors, you know, two flanking a door to be guards. But in the moment of battle, you can switch out to this one with this action pose. These are great minis that you could use together for your own elf. Maybe you're playing an elf spear fighter. And you could do the same thing for the elf druid. It's the same outfit. I mean, obviously the new one is a better sculpt, more detail on the face, better paint job. I mean, look at that. That is a really great face. And the action pose and the magic flaring from his weapon is great. This mini here is the one my gamer is using for his elf druid. But I do think he's going to want to use this one for when the heroes are engaged in battle. I think he's going to want to use both. That's what I would do. Here we've got the new Frost Giant compared to the old. Now, the first noticeable difference right out of the gate, I know you see me focusing on the bases, but it's not because one is clear and one is black, but you can see that this guy has a large base and she has a huge base. So here, let's put a regular mini in between with a medium base. So now you can see. Now, I like this kind of bluish gray coloring for a Frost Giant, but that may look too much like the Stone Giant. So a lot of the Frost Giants now have this more of a blue hue to them. And this is, man, just look at that facial expression. Can you imagine looking up at that? I would probably crap myself. This is a really good mini. It has like these massive horns attached ornamentally to the back, brandishing a big old axe. And again, a stern expression. I mean, a taking no prisoners expression. Look at that. And let's talk about Quadzilla here. Look at those quads. So I like both quite a bit. It'd be great if that one was huge, but that's okay. Humans come in all sizes. Why shouldn't giants? So there's the overview of these. Of course, I didn't get all the minis from the series. There's a bunch of other good ones. So go online and check them out. Consider getting your own set. pre-order them in the link below. Leave comments and tell me what you think of these. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed getting a look at these minis and seeing them side by side by their older counterparts. It's a terrific series to collect. Whether you're a newbie just starting out or you've been collecting for a while, you're going to really like adding these to your arsenal. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and if I don't see you before the holidays, Merry Christmas.